Arguably one of the most adorable games of all time is Stuffed Fables, and I use the word adorable very infrequently. We have 2 daughters, they're adorable. Board games, Kemet is not adorable. Whitehall Mysteries, not adorable. Arkham Horror, not adorable. But this one is adorable. So let me know in the comments below, what is your favorite game that it brings a sense of family, even if you're not necessarily playing it with your family? What's that really familial, adorable style game? If you have kids especially, Stuffed Fables has got a really great feeling as me as dad playing through this and thinking about all the different things that we've played before. But we're not talking about Stuffed Fables, the original today. We're talking about the Oh Brother expansion, which is a fun tweak in addition to Stuffed Fables. It's a new set of stories, it's a new set of adventures with a couple new characters and definitely some new villains. So let's take a look at Stuffed Fables Oh Brother right now. Come back up, talk final thoughts. Obviously, reviews for story-driven narrative games are hard to do without spoiling, and so I don't want to spoil anything, but I am going to show you a couple quick looks at some pages in here just so you see some of the new mechanics. But this is the overview of what it comes with. Now, there are some more cards that it comes with, but first of all, I wanted to show you the main 2 first installments are Manny and Pokey. These are 2 new main characters. You have Manny, who is really funny in the backstory, why he looks like he looks like. Obviously, an homage or a pastiche. And then Pokey's is a great unicorn, so you see them on the front of the game there. But the narrative does a great introduction of him, and it's really cool. So this is the younger brother's story. If you played Stuffed Fables the first time, one of the most adorable games of all time, obviously. But this one is a sequel, and you were helping out, and Manny gets involved this time as well as Pokey. So these are the younger brother's toys. Now the other ones are still around, and you can play with them. But so you get 2 new story, or you get some more stories here. Excuse me, not 2 more. So you get some more story cards here as well as some cards so the boy doesn't wake up. You then have down here all the different components it comes with. And the reason I'm showing you like this is, again, I don't want to show you too much so that you get frustrated in how I do it. There are a few new moving rules and things like that as far as minions. You also get a new type of enemy here. These, notice the bases don't have the different shapes on them. So these will play slightly different. So it's kind of interesting to do. Now, in the final thoughts, I'm going to tell you, without spoiling, a lot of things that I really enjoyed about this expansion versus the original. Now, I'm going to show you a couple pages of the inside of the storybook here without spoiling anything, so just be ready for that. So number 1, don't read over here. You've seen this place before. This is the place from the beginning of, or the last campaign, but you put this out here, and this will move based on these arrows. There's a lot of forced movement involved in this one. I'm going to show you one other spot. For instance, right here, I really love the art in this one. There will be little candies and cakes that flow down the river, and you've got to make it across the river. And so there's a lot of movement that happens on your own. So there's a lot of meat on the bone of what is involved in this story. There's not a ton of new components that come with it because the expansion is mainly based on this storybook board right here. So that is Stuffed Fables Oh Brother, what comes in it, what it does. Let's talk final thoughts and all the things we can talk about and whether you should get this expansion right now. So that's Oh Brother. Now, first of all, I love the 2 new characters in this game. It's clearly a He-Man pastiche. That's funny. It's just clever that you've got him. It's in the beginning of the story, so it's not a spoiler if I tell you this, but he says the dad gets him out of the attic because it was his kid his toy when he was a kid. So it's funny to me that you have this kind of very Toy Story feel of like this toy doesn't know where he's from and all this stuff, and so it's a lot of fun. The mechanics, I mean, obviously the game is very pretty. It always has been. The art style is just fun because it looks so unique and stylistic, and the idea that you've got these toys that you're playing with and you're defeating these bad toys. So obviously the game looks great. It continues to look great. The addition of the new characters is fun because there's certainly a different aesthetic look to the fact that Manny is an action figure versus Pokey is definitely a lovey, a stuffy. So seeing that is cool, and seeing how it plays differently is nice. I mean, Manny is clearly a fighter. He's meant to get out there and just beat up. Now let's talk about some differences in this and the original story. I actually like this one far better than the original, and not because of anything to do with even the theming. It's the fact that the missions seem more streamlined. That you can get bogged down in combat, which can happen sometimes, but there are ways to avoid the combat in a much faster way, or even fight the combat and be done with it faster, that it doesn't feel like you're like, oh, how many turns are we wasting on this, and you're falling down and waking up. it really streamlines the story. Now, I say that when we beat one of the missions in here, we only had one card left before we would have lost on the wake up. But it didn't feel like that. It felt like we were just playing and enjoying playing through. So that's what this one does. Now, I will say that the missions themselves, like the actual first story, is a little bit long for your play session. Now, yeah, you could stop and save in the middle, but that play session can stretch a little bit long and can get a little tedious if you're not careful. So if you're sitting there and you're constantly playing and you're enjoying it, though, you'll roll through pretty fast. But if it's one of those things where you're kind of playing it and chatting and stuff like that, it can really stretch just because of how many different locations there are and how you have to get to those locations. And if someone collapses, well, it's a little slower to get them up and get them over there to roll that. And then maybe you didn't even pull the right color dice out. So those are tricky issues with Stuff Fables in general. But the O Brother does do a good job mitigating that in a couple places, and I'm a big fan of that. So, big fan of the forced movement, how you're trying to rescue other toys in neat, interesting ways on the map. I like the new little enemies there, the little minions that you can beat up pretty quickly. So I really like, if you're going to play Stuff Fables, I actually would recommend playing this one first. I know that seems crazy because there's some references to the first one, but I like this so much better than the original even, that I would say just play this one first. And if you really love it, you can go back and play the other one. I know it seems backwards because it's an expansion, but that's how I feel about this. O Brother is a better game all around than the original Stuff Fables. So that's how I feel about Stuff Fables O Brother expansion. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. And Dice Tower Bryan, until next time, we'll see you.